ladies, and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be showing you how to do this yellow spring makeup. I was really excited when I saw that Jaclyn Hill had come out with her Armed and Gorgeous palette because this is like one of the only affordable palettes that has yellows in it, at least in my opinion, that I had noticed. And it's like $15 and the colors are really great. And it's just such a springy thing. I feel like people are really afraid of using yellow on their eyes, but to me, that's so much more wearable than a blue or a green, depending on how you wear them. So I was really excited to try this out, and I thought that you guys would enjoy it, so I figured I'd put it together. Please subscribe to my vlog and my channel if you haven't already, and let's get started. So I'm going to start with this Boscia Perfecting White Charcoal Mattifying Treatment Primer, which I actually used in my discount makeup video. And I've been using it ever since, and I love it. It makes my skin feel so smooth before I put on foundation, and it just gives the right amount of tackiness so that my makeup really does last all day. And as we're moving into summer and it's starting to get hotter out and we're sweating, I think a mattifying primer is really the move because, as you guys know, I used a glow primer most of the winter, and it's just less useful in spring and summer because your skin is just a lot more dewy naturally. So I think a mattifying primer is the way to go. So the next thing that we're going to do is go in with concealer. Now a lot of YouTubers will actually do their foundation and then their concealer. I've really been enjoying going in with my concealer first before my foundation because a lot of YouTubers, they actually do foundation first and then concealer, but then you have to blend it out, and I find it's a little bit more of a stark contrast. Whereas when you do this first, I don't hugely love a super bright under eye area. I think it can look nice when it's just a hint brighter than the rest of the face, which is why I like it underneath my foundation rather than over it. So I'm just gonna go in with the L'Oreal Infallible Full Wear. This might be a bit light for me right now, but we'll work with it. I'm going to use this little Real Techniques sponge that's made for under your eyes, and I love this thing. I thought it was a stupid idea, it was useless, like why do I need another sponge? But this thing actually makes the biggest difference and makes sure that my concealer doesn't get stuck in the creases under my eyes. So you can definitely see that this is much brighter, and that's why I actually think it looks better underneath my foundation, because if I were to go in with this over my foundation, it would just be so stark a difference, whereas putting it on underneath my foundation just gives a little bit of that hint of brightness. So now I'm going to go in with my foundation, and I'm going to use the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear. I started using this about 3 weeks ago, actually it might even be a month. And I love it. I think it's a really good foundation. It makes your skin look flawless. And that in combination with my powder, which is the Wet n Wild Pressed Powder Photo Focus, I love this combination. It just makes my skin look really nice and it makes it last all day. So I'm gonna use a damp sponge and I'm just gonna pounce this in all over the face. So the next thing I'm going to do is set down my foundation and my concealer. So I actually use two different powders. Of course, you don't have to, but the under eye area for me always creases. So using a pressed powder doesn't really do the job for me. I need to use a more loose powder, which is why I use my Bare Minerals Mineral Veil underneath my eyes, and then I use the Wet n Wild Photo Focus powder all over my face. I could just go in with this, but this gives me that little extra coverage that looks really nice, and I can actually go in with this on my fingertip and also cover any blemishes that I might have on my skin. I'm going to set my under eye with that same Real Techniques beauty sponge that's made for under the eyes because I find that it really does help set down that concealer so I don't get creasing. For my face, I'm just going to go ahead and use a brush. So now that my face is just a blank canvas and kind of looks flat as a board, we're going to bring back all of that dimension. So I'm going to use the Butter Bronzer by Physicians Formula. And I'm gonna use this little contouring brush by Real Techniques. And I'm just gonna take this and I'm gonna go under my cheekbone. Like right at the top of the ear and down, and just move in like circular motions, because the shape of this brush, if I were to just drag it, I would just get a line and that's not gonna look good. So instead, I'm gonna kind of drag and move in circular motions. Now I'm just gonna go underneath my jaw, just to give a little bit more definition. And then just a little bit around my forehead. Now, I'm gonna go in with a shimmery bronzer. Some people don't like that, but I have the Glow Kit. It's the Gleam Glow Kit by Anastasia, and it has this bronzer highlighter, which would probably be a great highlighter for deeper skin tones, but for me, it's kind of more like a bronzer, and it's called Mimosa. And I go in with a fluffier brush, and I just put this on the same places that I put my contour, and it'll just kind of give this little glow from within look, which I really like, especially for spring. If you drag some along your nose, it'll make it look like you've got sun-kissed. I'm also gonna go ahead and contour my nose. So I have this fan brush from Real Techniques, and I'm just gonna go back into the butter bronzer and just go on either side of my nose lightly and right at the bottom. I'm gonna go ahead and put on some blush. So this is the Wet n Wild Color Icon Blush in Pearlescent Pink. And I'm just gonna hit the apples of my cheeks and a little bit back, just kind of swipe it back. So it's really nice to have rosy cheeks in spring and summer because that looks natural, right? We get a little bit hot, we get a little bit flushed. So having those rosy cheeks makes a big difference. And then last but not least for the face, I'm gonna go in with this setting brush. I'm just gonna go into Crushed Pearl, and I'm going to put that right on my cheekbones and down the bridge of my nose. And we're done with the face. So the next thing that I'm gonna do is my eyebrows. So my eyebrows, as you can see, are pretty full, but I do have a few bald patches. So I like to go in with this LA Girl brow pomade in soft black. And I just go in with a little angled brush, and I'm just gonna fill in those bald patches, and then I'm going to set it down. Now I just comb out everything with this little spoolie. And then I go ahead and set everything down. So now I'm just going to put on my lipstick and then we'll do my eye makeup. So I'm using the Charlotte Tilbury lipstick in Bitch Perfect, and I'm just gonna apply this straight from the bullet. And now for the showstopper of this look, which is this palette by Jaclyn Hill and Morphe, and this is the eyeshadow palette in Armed and Gorgeous, and it has all of these really bright yellows, which I love. I think it's a really fun color to play with for spring. I think I tend to get into sort of a rut of wanting to use a lot of pinks and a lot of warm tones, but like yellow is something that I think is most appropriate for spring and summer and looks really fun on the eyes. And I know it can be scary, but I'm gonna show you how to wear this color on the eyes without it looking crazy. So I zoomed you guys in a bit so that we could do my eye makeup. And we're going to start off by using the color Act. So that's this bright yellow shade here. I'm going to use a big fluffy brush, and I'm just gonna start on the outer edge of my eye. I'm gonna tap off the excess, and I'm just putting this on as a wash of color. So I don't want it to be too heavy right at the beginning. I really just want this tint of yellow to cover my crease, right? So the crease is the part where the lid meets the top of the eye. It's right in between. And I'm just gonna put this here and set this down. And I'm gonna do that on the other eye in the same exact way. I'm just gonna imitate each step I do underneath my eye at the same time. So I'm going to take this little brush, it's kind of like a flat shader brush and it's short, and I'm going to take the same color and I'm just going to go right underneath the bottom lashes. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take a slightly smaller brush, and this one is a little bit more flat, if you can see, rather than just round and fluffy. And I'm going to take the color Agent, which is this color here, and it's an orange color. So I'm just going to take that here, and I'm going to just stamp this on the outer V of the eye. And I'm dragging it into the crease. Now I don't want to lose that yellow, so I'm going to go back in with the first brush I used and go back into the yellow shade and just blend that out. Now I'm going to put that orange shade on the bottom lash line. The next thing I'm going to do is with an even smaller brush, I'm going to go into Smooth Criminal, which is this kind of lighter warm brown. And I'm just going to put this right in the outer V. I'm not going to bring this in very far at all. I don't want this to be a really, really smoky eye because I'm not trying to make this into a super intense evening look, but it is going to have a little bit of that smoky kind of idea, right? Because I'm going to have an outer edge that is a little bit darker than the inner edge. Now I'm just going to put this on the lower lash line, but I'm just going to keep it on the outer edge. I'm not going to drag this all the way in. The next thing I'm going to do is go in with this shade Guilt Trip, which is a true gold and it's really beautiful on the eye. So I'm going to use it on a brush first, just so that I have an outline of where it's going to go, but that's not going to give it its full potential, its full color payoff, because then I'm going to go in with my fingertip and that'll deepen everything up. So the way I'm going to apply this is just put this on the lid, but I'm only going to bring it 3/4 of the way out. I'm not going to bring it all across the lid. Now I'm going to go into VIP with a pencil brush, and I'm just going to put this into my inner corner. And that is it for the eyeshadow. So now I'm going to go in with a little bit of liner. And now I'm going for my lashes. So I'm just going to use this one from Beauty 360, which I think is the CVS brand. And I'm just going to throw some mascara on my top and my bottom lashes. And that is the finished look. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Subscribe to my channel, subscribe to my blog, head over to Twitter and Instagram and follow me there. And let me know what you're planning on doing for your spring makeup looks. What are you excited to try? And clothing and things that just make you love spring and that like we're jumping into summer too. So that's really exciting. Let me know down below and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!